We all have some hard conversation we've been putting off. Am I right? You know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's with an old friend or a family member or an employee or your boss. You know in your heart of hearts, you've got to say something. So what now? If you're new to this channel, I'm Amanda Ripley, a certified conflict mediator and the co-founder of Good Conflict. We help leaders like you reimagine conflict through our free resources, our courses, and training. In this video, my colleague Helen is going to help you prepare for a hard conversation based on the science of human behavior and conflict. This little mini prep session is the step so many of us skip. We spend more time planning our outfits or our lunch order than we do planning for hard conversations. That is a huge mistake. In this lesson, which is part of our masterclass on leading and communicating in volatile times, Helen will share what we know about the smartest ways to set up a hard conversation for success. We've already shared other lessons from this class on the channel, like mapping a conflict and investigating the understory, both of which are critical steps. If you haven't already, definitely check those out after watching this one. And remember, before you have a hard conversation, you probably want to issue the invitation. We have a whole lesson on this in the full masterclass. But basically, you want to ask the other person if they want to do this conflict differently. Don't just ambush them. And you know, they might say no in so many words, or they might come talk to you but not really meet you where you're at. Maybe they're not ready, maybe they're not willing. That does happen. That doesn't mean that you failed or that you should give up. What we've learned is you might want to ask them what would need to happen before they would take you up on their offer. Or just let them know that the offer still stands. Then wait. What we've learned is that sometimes things need to get worse before they get better. Or they need to get better, and then the person's willing to talk. One invitation is rarely enough, as we've learned from people who work in all kinds of conflict. After this lesson on preparing for your good conflict encounter, we have an entire lesson in our masterclass on how to keep your cool during that conversation. You can enroll at the link in the description. Okay, time to plan this good conflict date. Let's get started.
So let's get to work planning the good conflict date. We're going to do this right now. And look, I get it. Dates with friends or a spouse, a partner, a neighbor, or a soon-to-be partner for life, they are supposed to be energizing, exciting, and fun. However, at this point, let's just keep it real. There is nothing about planning a good conflict date that sounds fun. I get it. And you're feeling all the feelings. Your heart is racing. Your shoulders are tense. Maybe you've got a migraine coming on, all from the thought of planning a good conflict rendezvous with someone who has hurt you, angered you, or caused you sleepless nights. Here's the thing. You have already done the hard work of lowering your shield, offering 10% vulnerability, and extending the invitation. Now, to feel more confident, you just need to prepare. So let's get ready to engage in a conversation that will be, uncomfortable at times, but it can also help you find some peace. All right, so here we go. First, choose the right time and place. Schedule the conversation when both of you aren't under pressure, if that's possible. You'll want to avoid those high-stress times of day. Also, select a neutral and comfortable location where you won't be interrupted. A few ideas that come to mind: you could meet at a coffee shop or a restaurant. Restaurants are ideal for good conflict dates. They usually have ambient music playing, which, according to neuroscience research, can help regulate emotions and create a more relaxed atmosphere. And then, of course, there's the food. The historic act of breaking bread together is still honored for a reason. Sharing a meal can create this sense of camaraderie and make the discussion feel less formal and stiff. In an interview with the Dalai Lama, the interviewer shared a list of global conflicts and divisions in our society, and then asked the Dalai Lama, "How do we bring people together?" Can you guess what his response was? More picnics. Yes, never underestimate the power of food. If that doesn't feel right, go on a walk together. The research shows this is a great way to have a hard conversation. You're moving and doing something together, side by side. And guess what? You don't have to stare into each other's eyes, which is a relief. But okay, if it's not possible to meet in person, what do we do then? Well, you can still create a comfortable environment for your conversation on a phone call or video. But whatever you do, you want to establish ground rules. Ideally, you'll do this together after you issue the invitation before diving into the conversation. With ground rules, it's a way to keep both parties feeling respected and also heard. And you can propose the basics like no interrupting, no shouting, and taking turns speaking. And we've got a whole list of potential ground rules in your playbook. If any power imbalances are at play, acknowledge that. If you're in a leadership position, state the obvious and explain your intent to listen deeply to understand the other person's perspective. If you are someone in the past who has been silenced or otherwise marginalized, consider talking with a trusted mentor or an advocate to prepare for the conversation. You may even want to practice by role-playing. If there's a larger power imbalance, then maybe even ask to bring this person on the date. Now, this won't always be necessary, but special circumstances may call for it. And finally, set realistic goals for the date. Go back to your playbook and remind yourself what you want for you, the other person, and this relationship. If you aren't sure what your goal should be, we have a suggestion. Try to understand yourself, the other person, or the problem just a little better. That may sound small, but it can change everything. Okay, we did it, and there's a lot to consider now in planning this date. I can assure you, planning ahead using these strategies, they can help turn a potentially heated exchange into something productive and respectful. That is exactly what Eric Herr and Bruce Jenkett did. Both men are frequent contributors to the letters to the editor pages of the Laconia Daily Sun in New Hampshire. They also happen to be political opposites. But one day, they decided to step away from their keyboards and actually meet in person to have a good conflict conversation about their differences. They were arguing through their letters, but they weren't changing each other's minds. So they agreed it was time to sit down over lunch and hear each other out. This time, their goal wasn't to change the other person's mind. It was solely to listen and to learn something. And that's what they did. After lunch and a few follow-up emails, they wrote a joint letter to the paper. In the letter, they described their lunch date, and they acknowledged that they hadn't reached any sort of agreement on politics, but they did understand each other better. In their joint letter, they encouraged other contributors to the paper to make an effort to listen to each other, and instead of going around and around in these nonsense circles to prove a point. You see, there is hope. That said, I want you to open your playbook and follow the prompts to prepare for your good conflict date. Go ahead, you have got this. And if you're worried about getting tripped up or emotions soaring out of control, we've got you covered. It's all in the next video.
So there you have it. Plan your good conflict date based on what actually works. Don't wing it. You may not get what you want, but you will know that you did what you could to have the right fight in the right way. If you found this video helpful, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next conflict hack. And if you want to go deeper, you can always enroll in our full masterclass at the link in the description below. Remember, if your first invitation gets turned down, keep the door open. Stay patient. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.